Grand Theft Auto. To take someone else's car without permission and with the intent of permanently or significantly depriving the owner of it. An entire video game franchise built around the concept of stealing people's vehicles. Even in the most recent game, the very first mission is stealing luxury sports cars. Grand Theft Auto 1's very first mission, you're asked to repossess a vehicle. This game was developed all the way back in 1997, but even back then, Rockstar knew that committing vehicular manslaughter in stolen cars was good, clean fun. I myself had fun making this video, as there are 15 GTA games and I only ever played the more mainstream ones. Some of the lesser known entries are truly hidden gems, and some of them probably should have been aborted. We're going to look at all of them, so pour yourself a glass of water, strip off everything but your socks, and get ready for some of the most family-friendly entertainment ever uploaded to YouTube. Like the video if you hate child labor. Grand Theft Auto 1. I'm sure this menu screen was cutting edge for its time, but it now looks like a meme font PowerPoint presentation. I chose to play as Bubba as he looks like the kind of guy who'd give a mean cuddle. The formula here is exactly the same as current games. You drive to a destination, get a mission, and then drive somewhere else to either deliver something and/or shoot people. All from a bird's eye perspective. My favourite mission was when Bubba and I dabbled in a little domestic radicalism. London 1969. Only Rockstar would make a 69 joke in the title of one of their own games. This was an expansion for the first game and was extremely similar, except obviously set in England. It's cool to see the early signs of immersive life in the cities. For example, there was a group of protesters chanting and standing up for what they believe in, which I think takes a lot of courage. I hit a 7-man splatter on them, which obviously takes more courage. Strangely satisfying seeing all the pixelated bodies from up top. London 1961. The final expansion for the first game and one of the lesser known entries in the franchise. These first few games were when Rockstar was still figuring it all out. They were enjoyed by many, but the reviews were still pretty mixed. Grand Theft Auto 2. As you can see, there's been graphical improvements, it's almost lifelike. Within 10 minutes of playing this, I managed to piss off the Yakuza, so I just kept getting chased around by Japanese thugs. I was trying to record footage for a wholesome retrospective video, and I ended up becoming the victim of hate crimes. GTA 2 was a step up from the original game, but nothing on what happened next. Grand Theft Auto 3. This was when the developers started staying sufficiently hydrated and releasing certified hood classics. This game is 20 years old and is still genuinely a good time. I found it interesting that they included the top-down camera as an option for players, perhaps worried that they were straying too far from their roots. In reality, they were releasing arguably the most influential game of the 21st century. The players took on the life of Claude, where he and his iconic leather jacket are still recognizable by most gamers, despite him not saying one word the entire game. I only got to play this back in the day once at a friend's house. My friend had those cool parents who let him do anything and were never home. In hindsight, he may have been neglected. I think he's an MMA fighter and in jail now, but at least he got to play as Claude whenever he wanted to growing up. Claude was a beast. He could fight entire crime organizations, he could drive tanks, he could do anything except freestyle. A perfect marksman with any gun, but couldn't flap his arms in the water due to a lack of swimming lessons as a kid. Now that's poor parenting. The GTA world we know now really started to take shape here. You had stores you could visit, you had a place to sleep and save your game. For its time, the world was revolutionary. Combined with the technological advances, this truly was the start of a golden era. GTA Vice City, set in the satirical, vibrant Miami. This game took everything from GTA 3 and added pure cut coke, figuratively and literally. As a lot of you already know, as I mentioned this in a recent video, I wasn't allowed to buy Vice City as a kid because prostitutes and murder, but my mum was kind enough to let me get The Simpsons Hit and Run. You could still physically assault your loved ones, so my inner sociopath was satisfied. Even still, I managed to play quite a lot of Vice City as a kid. I had a good friend, a different friend from the MMA jail guy, and we'd stay up all night playing as Tommy Vercetti. Unlike Claude, he even talked, and Tommy was a king. You could buy businesses, which to me was mind-blowing. You could buy a strip club, and we sure did. We were the proud owners of the Pole Position Club. In order for it to make good money, you had to do this weird thing. You had to get a private dance from one of the ladies for yourself, and then you'd make $4,000 a day, which we found out without the internet. We then reinvested this money into more private dances. Like, who the f*** is Jeffrey Bezos? We were on top. It was so nostalgic recording footage for this one. I staunched some chef for his phone, and then all these little chef boys came after me. I worked in hospitality for years, and this is a pretty accurate portrayal of chefs. Back in my restaurant, I'd be like, "Yo chef, the customer doesn't want any salt on his fries," and then he'd hurl a kitchen knife at me and call me racial slurs in Greek. As nostalgic and great as this game is, what happened next blew my mind. 2004, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas releases. Everyone is going to have a different favorite, but for me, this is the king of the GTA franchise. Hell, I've made 10 videos on this game. I still can't believe I called one of them, "What happens when CJ eats too much fried chicken?" Questionable choice of words. I played this game so much. It's one of the only games I ever got 100% completion on. Still today it's a lot of fun, but for its time, it was on another level entirely. 3 different cities you could visit on a huge map that included 4 different strip clubs. Teenage boys everywhere thanked Rockstar for the pixelated booty. There was a gang war going on that mirrored the Bloods and Crips conflict. 90s rap music played through the radio. Doing drive-bys is great, but it's a lot greater when Ice Cube's playing. The whole 90s gangster setting was just so unique. I didn't learn the N-word from edgy Discord teens, I learned it from Grove Street families. The right way to learn it. Who could forget the infamous hot coffee incident? In a nutshell, Rockstar included a minigame where players could have sex with their girlfriends. This wasn't missionary with the lights off for 4 minutes while listening to a Smash Mouth track, this was a proper minigame that I obviously can't show. They changed their mind last minute and cancelled the minigame, but players still found a way to access the hidden content and get that virtual vagine, which I think shows a lot of determination and raw grit. A true masterpiece of a game. GTA Advance released the same day as San Andreas. As the name suggests, it was for the Game Boy Advance. It's hard for me not to just roast this because I found it so boring. It's also unfair for me to roast it as I played all of these in chronological order and it feels like I've gone back 7 years. Plus it was designed for a Game Boy, so there's obvious tech limitations. I imagine if I'd had this as a kid I'd have nostalgia and everything, but at this moment I'd rather slam my penis into a 1930s electric blender than ever play it again. Liberty City Stories. This was another one I was playing for the first time. I had to figure out all kinds of weird ways to get access to these games, and so for this one, I downloaded it onto my iPhone. So if you're wondering why my overall movement makes me look like a bit of a bot, it's because I was using the touchscreen. I'm also a little bit of a bot at the best of times, and I was also quite high when I recorded most of the gameplay. I thought it would be cool to go on this nostalgia trip a little buzzed. This game takes place in the same city as GTA 3, but 3 years earlier and with a heavy focus on mafia families. I'm actually really looking forward to playing this again the next time I'm stuck at an airport or funeral. Vice City Stories. Now this was a surprise package. Originally released as a PSP exclusive, you remember the PSPs, the handheld PlayStations? This kid at our school had one and I remember he used it to show everybody a girl-on-girl porno on a school camp. I remember thinking to myself, well hey, that's pretty neat. I had to download a PSP emulator for my PC and I could not configure the controls to work properly, so I struggled to play this, as you can clearly see. I didn't have a joystick or a mouse, it was so incredibly scuffed. The game itself actually seems amazing though. You play as a corporal stationed at the Vice City military base. You get corrupted into the narcotics world and it genuinely seems like a great game. I'm tempted to get it working properly and making an entire video on it. I obviously broke some laws while struggling around and a police officer came into our barracks and shot at me. My soldier friends didn't do anything, it was quite hurtful. Grand Theft Auto 4, another masterpiece and many people's favourite of the franchise. A somewhat unexpected successor to GTA San Andreas as they took the huge open map and replaced it with the much tighter and busier Liberty City. It worked so well though, this game is truly sensational. The physics engine for starters still makes my mouth water. The way pedestrians crumble as you run them down always leads to a cheap laugh or two. The driving mechanics are so satisfyingly genuine. The city and world just feels so alive and hustling. And Cousin Roman calling Nico to go bowling still haunts all of us. It was a fun mini game, but I was never a great loser, and Roman would often find himself shot to shit in one of the alleys if he beat me. A couple of hours later, he always calls asking for a ride home from hospital, and I just hang up. Shouldn't have hit all those strikes, big girl. In my opinion, GTA 4 has the best story in the franchise and is truly a legendary game. The Lost and Damned, the first expansion for 4 and a great one at that. The developers made a bold choice to have protagonist Johnny and his motorcycle gang all have invisibility as a superpower, as you can see here. This gave the game a fresh, fun feel. No, I joke, my game just glitched out. This expansion is sick, I love it when GTA games involve gang warfare of some kind. The internal power struggles, the rivalries with other MCs, it had it all. It never got old for me just cruising in formation, even if my brothers in arms frequently acted like this was the first time they'd ever ridden a motorcycle. The Ballad of Gay Tony is another insanely good expansion. You play as a bodyguard for your best friend Tony and enjoy dealing with the issues of being a high-status socialite. You know you've made it when your objective is to hang out at a club. From the first mission, you already knew this was going to be a classic as you tortured a dude via golf balls at a driving range. My favourite aspect of the 3 GTA 4 stories is they all intertwine in some way. Chinatown Wars. I used a Nintendo DS imitator to play this one, so it's on 2 screens and again a little scuffed, but I'm happy I got to play it for the video. Chinatown Wars is actually pretty good. It made use of the DS's touchscreen, but I couldn't touch the screen, obviously being on a PC. I did actually try because I was high. I looked like an idiot, but yeah, I just kept drowning during the first mission. What a way to go though. You die silently and extremely hydrated. Eventually I found a workaround, and yeah, this was a tidy little bonus game. Grand Theft Auto 5. This is a funny one, as GTA 5 is a sensational game up there with the best, but due to circumstances, I feel opinions have changed. The map, the world, the ability to change characters on the go. You can take your dog to a dog park and play fetch. It's the little details I love. The story is genuinely amazing, and this game blew minds when it launched. It really was a near perfect sequel to the previous titles. The thing is, it launched in 2013 and it keeps getting re-released constantly with barely any changes. It's actually kind of sad because it's kind of ruining the game. Only a month ago, they released another trailer for GTA 5. I genuinely couldn't believe it. It wasn't just me either, the whole community is so confused. So in a nostalgic sense, I love this game, but they need to stop re-releasing it. Seriously, please stop releasing this game. I hope you all enjoyed this video. It took me quite a while to put together. You guys are legends. Until next time, and as always, stay classy.